Hey guys, welcome back to my page. I am the Reflective Perspective Oracle. My name is Charlene. Today we're going to switch up the game a little bit and we're going to discuss something that I've been kind of throwing around in my brain for a little while here. I've noticed that most people on my page do understand a lot of the terms that I use to describe and explain what it is that we're doing with these cards, because everybody knows, like, you know, I've said it in previous videos before that, you know, you can use tarot and oracle for any which way. You can find out present energies, future energies. You can also use them as a tool to better yourself, okay? Not saying that you're not great the way you are, but also just, you know, to look within and to see what it is that we could improve, where are our blind spots, that kind of thing. So again, totally up to you, however you use your cards, but this deck in particular has really spoke to me through the self-improvement realm, which is another word for that is shadow work, you know? So what I thought I would do is start a mini series and using some of our cards to explain what shadow work is, why we do it, how we do it, and what are some of the shadows that appear in a lot of our lives. What are some examples of that? And then what we can do with that information and how we can work through it, okay? So today, to start off our little mini series, I decided to choose enough of Chapter 7. And I chose this card in particular to start with because I thought it's a great place to, well, it's a great place to begin. The card in itself talks about coming to the realization that you have read a certain chapter in your life many, many times, and it's acknowledging the fact that you're ready to move on to Chapter 8. Now, when we say chapters, what we mean is this chapter, Chapter 7, is something that you have been involved in, whether that be a relationship with a person, romantic or platonic, maybe a friendship, a family member. This could be a job, this could be a mindset, this could be anything, okay? And you're realizing that you've either like stayed in it for far too long and keep accepting the same kind of behavior, whether that be from yourself or the other person involved or just the mindset in itself. You keep on accepting that, or you recognize it for what it is every time, and then you just move on to something else. But when that other something else appears, whether that be a person, place, idea, what have you, you're just manifesting the same kind of thing. You're literally bringing in the exact same version, only in a different, it appears in a different way. So I'm going to give you some examples of this. So for example, you're dating someone and you notice that there's something that they do, and you repeatedly ask them, could you please not do this anymore? Or we always fight because of X, Y, and Z, let's not do it. So you guys, you know, you have a little fight, you break up, you make up, and then all of a sudden you find yourself reading Chapter 7 again, you're doing it again. Or, you know, you break up with one person and then you move on to the next and you're noticing it's a whole new person, but they've got the exact same characteristics as the last person, okay? Same goes for friendships. You know, you accept the same type of behavior, or you look for new friends, and when you find the new friends, you realize they're the exact same as the last people. Why is this happening to me? What is going on here, right? How else could this play out for you? This could be a mindset. So say, for example, you have a bad habit. And a habit could be anything really. We don't necessarily need to label it bad or good. Just you notice that you have a little bit of an addiction to something, okay? And so maybe you quit that, and then you all of a sudden find that you are displaying the exact same behavior, but yet you've put that behavior into a new facet of your life, okay? So maybe you were once, maybe you once spent too much money or something like this, and then all of a sudden you stopped doing that and you moved on to becoming someone who goes to the gym all the time. But then all of a sudden you notice that you started, and like, let's be honest, going to the gym is probably healthier for you than constantly spending your money, but you're noticing that there's like an addictive behavior, and you're now putting the addictive behavior onto the gym, and you're overdoing that instead of So what I'm trying to say is that I hope you can see here, like say this could be with your finances even, like say you're somebody who comes into a lot of money, and then once you feel like you have a lot of money, you spend a bunch of it, and then you're back to where you were before, where you didn't have as much, and then you're in this worry state for a while, and then you go work your butt off to go get a bunch more money, and then you do the same. So what I hope you can see the correlation of what I'm saying here, is that this is a chapter that you have read a million times. And again, there are many more ways it could play out, just apply to your life. And I think the whole point of this mini-series is to just help people recognize certain shadows and how that might play out in their life. And then we're going to talk about, what is it that we can do with that, okay? So now that you've recognized that this is a chapter that you've read many times, okay, why, like we're going to look at how to look at it, okay? Why are we looking at it, okay? Well, we look at certain things because, again, if you're in this energy of enough of chapter 7, you have literally had enough and you're wanting to move on to chapter 8. Now, how do we do that? How do we get ourselves out of something that we've always been living? Well, we need to look at it, right? And I think in our society, we've always kind of, not everybody, and I won't put everybody under the same bubble, but the majority of us have been taught to, not to feel, to push things down, to push it away, to distract ourselves, to go do other things, to keep busy, so that we don't feel, right? But if we can truly love ourselves enough to allow this feeling or these realizations to be seen, to have a seat at the table with us, to look at it and say, all right, you know what? I'm going to claim this. I'm going to have some accountability. I'm going to hold myself to looking at this shadow aspect of myself, okay? And if you can allow it to have a seat at the table with you and look at it and accept it without judging it and just say, all right, this is something that I've participated in for a long time, okay? And I'm pretty done with it, and I'd like to turn the page. So why? Because, it's not comfortable to stay in the same thing over and over again. And at a certain point in time, we have to look within ourselves. We can't always be pointing the finger outward, right? And expecting others to fix things for us. We have to take a little bit of accountability. And that can be very, very painful to look within. I think, again, as I said earlier, our society has taught us to be so busy that feeling emotions are a scary thing to most people, right? But if we can really hold space enough for ourselves and love ourselves enough to say, all right, you know what? I love myself enough that I want to make a change. And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to allow myself to look at this. Now, this isn't something that, that should take you a week or a month. Like, it could take you a week, it could take you a month, it doesn't matter. But what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out process, right? Because that in itself can be its own addiction. So what I'm trying to say is that, once we realize that this work is available to us, it could also itself become an addiction, right? Attaching to the story of I'm healing, I'm broken, that kind of thing. The easiest way to deal with these things when we look at them, when they come up for us, is that we look at it. Maybe we do a little bit of journaling about it. Maybe we just ask ourselves a few questions. Why is it that I do this? What does it feel? Where do I feel it in my body? And if you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream, scream. If you need to, write it down, write it down. Doing something like maybe meditate on it, doing something constructive to allow yourself the space to feel safe enough to let this be seen, okay? Think of it as another part of you, and you're just inviting that part of you to sit down at the table and to be seen. And sometimes that's all it wants is for you to take a look at it. Now, I'm not saying that you snap your fingers and overnight this is a light switch and it goes away. No. But what happens is that every time, and quite possibly it could, right? Because it could be something that is just minor, right? Because when things do come up to our attention, that's why it's coming up to our attention, is so that it can be released, not to bother us and to make us feel shitty for an extended amount of time. And yeah, it could make us feel shitty, but if we allow it a seat at the table, if we take a look at it, right? we actually let it be seen and heard by us and acknowledged by us, then it seems to dissipate. And so every single time, like I said, it's not going to be a light switch, and even if it is, great, that means you were pretty much done with it. But it could show up numerous times, but every single time it does show up, if you allow yourself to go through this process every time of acknowledgement, what is it that this part of me wants to say to me? What is it that it's trying to show me? Every single time it does come up, it's going to have less and less attachment to you, right? You won't be as attached to the story. And you'll notice that as you move on, you won't have as much attachment to it, right? And then eventually one day, the story leaves. Like, the thing still happened, or the knowledge of the fact that you used to be this way, or that this was a certain way that you used to conduct yourself, that's all still there. But the story leaves, yet the wisdom remains, right? So that's the beautiful part about shadow work and looking at your inner, your inner dark stuff. And I know that this can be very scary for a lot of people. And again, like I said, addiction to doing this work is real, right? The work is never done. We will be working on ourselves till the day we die. So we just look at it, we honor it, we allow it to be seen and heard, we feel it, we let it up and out, and we continue on with our lives. I know this energy all too well, and the addiction part to it, right? Thinking that you need to be healing constantly, and the more you affirm that you're healing, the more you feel broken, and this kind of thing. So take the time that's needed, but then continue to live. Most of the work gets done in the living. The integration of all of this happens in the day-to-day. There's no need to overthink this, okay? So I hope that explains a little bit to you about the shadow of chapter 7. I started with chapter 7 because it seems to be the initial realization point of where someone would notice, like, hey, wait a minute, this seems to be playing out for me a lot, and all of a sudden I'm realizing it. So we'll start today with chapter 7, and then we'll move on to different cards in other days, and we'll talk about how we can identify those in our lives and integrate those as well. Again, it's the same process for every single shadow. It just needs to be seen. So, but in other days, we'll discuss other cards that have different shadows and how they might be playing out in your life. So I hope you guys found this interesting. I hope you found this educational and helpful. If you did, please feel free to comment down below how chapter 7 might be playing out in your life. If you're interested in our deck to help you go through some of your own shadow work, or if you just want to get them because they're pretty rad cards, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help you. Also, if you're interested in a private reading, I'm here for that too. We could do some shadow work together. So again, as I said, I hope you're I hope you enjoyed this a lot. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.